You know what I feel about Windows recently? It feels incredibly bloated. There's so much pre-installed that every single time you do a fresh install, you literally have to remove all the bloatware Microsoft just bundles into your system, and it pisses me off. I've been using Windows as my main operating system ever since I touched my first computer. I experienced Windows 7 through Windows 11, and I know some people will say, Windows 7? My first OS was Windows XP. Okay dude, I get it, you're old. And I did skip on Windows 8, so the transition from Windows 7 to Windows 10 felt so drastic at the time. Almost everything was new. There's the App Store now, better security features, a completely different UI, and so much more. But the transition from Windows 10 to Windows 11 was rather underwhelming. When I first upgraded, I could barely notice the difference. Apart from more bloatware and some UI changes, everything just felt the same. It felt more like an update and not an upgrade. And in some cases, it even made the performance slower. The added security features consume more resources, and beyond that, the performance feels sluggish because of the heavier UI rendering. Windows 11's more complex design with mega transparency and branded corners requires more GPU acceleration just to draw the desktop. Combined with increased background processes like widgets board and integrated Microsoft Teams, Windows 11 has a higher idling cost than Windows 10 ever did. It narrowed thermal and processing headroom, making what should have been a smooth transition not that smooth. Without optimizing anything, Windows literally consumes over 8GB of RAM and significant CPU power just running idle. That's not great. And beyond performance, Windows feels bloated because of the relentless integration of sponsored apps and web-based shit that Microsoft just keeps adding. Not to mention, Windows isn't completely free. You need a license to access some features and remove the annoying watermark. But, I mean, Microsoft isn't making as much money from Windows licenses anymore since people can just get them cheaper even for free. So, they're maximizing monetization in other ways instead. All I'm saying is, Windows f***ing sucks now. While Windows runs on 75% of all computers in the world, there are other options. And yeah, you guessed it, it's Linux. I'm pretty sure everyone's already familiar with it. It's the operating system that runs cloud servers, powers the majority of the internet, and quietly works behind the scenes in more places than you think. What makes Linux different from Windows isn't just that it's free, though that it's a nice bonus, it's that it's open source, meaning anyone can look at the code, modify it, and redistribute it. This has created a massive community of developers who've built an entire ecosystem around it through Linux distros. There are hundreds of Linux distros, but they fall into a few major families. There's the Debian family, Ubuntu, and Linux Mint. Then there's Red Hat family, with Fedora and CentOS, often used in enterprise environments. Each distro has its own package manager, desktop environment, and philosophy. Ubuntu focuses on ease of use. Arch focuses on user control with DIY approach. Fedora showcases the latest open source innovations. The cool thing is, you're not locked in. If you don't like your desktop environment, you can switch it. Do you want to change distros? Of course, you can do that too. Most Linux software is cross-compatible, so this customization draws a lot of people to Linux. But it's also the same reason why it scares so many others. Linux's reputation as a difficult system, only for tech experts, is largely outdated. Modern distros like Ubuntu or Linux Mint now offers user-friendly experiences comparable to Windows or Mac OS, with intuitive interfaces, app stores, and seamless hardware compatibility. While the command remains powerful, it's no longer required for everyday tasks like browsing, gaming, or document editing. The main challenge for new users is unfamiliarity rather than actual complexity, much like switching between Windows and Mac. The transition just requires adjusting to a new layout. Kinda. If a beginner chooses the right distro, the learning curve is far more manageable than internet memes suggest. And I know for Windows users, we're all used to using .exe files and using programs that only work on Windows. Because of Windows' market dominance, many essential programs are exclusive to that platform, making the move to Linux more than just an OS change. It's a transition to an entirely different software landscape. I know it's difficult to walk away from tools and workflows you spend years using, but hear me out. What if I told you that you might not have to abandon all of your Windows programs? Enter Wine. No, not that. The compatibility layer that runs many Windows applications on Linux. Wine isn't really an emulator, despite what most people think. It's actually a translation layer that converts Windows system calls into something Linux can understand. Basically, it tricks Windows programs into thinking they're running on Windows when they're actually running on Linux. This means you can install and run a lot of .exe files without needing Windows at all. Now, I know it's not perfect. Some programs might not work and others might have bugs, but let's be honest here. Most of you watching doesn't really use that much productivity programs, right? Because even if you are, here's the good news. If you use Microsoft programs like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, or Excel, you can still access those because they have a web-based version. With Adobe programs, well, fuck Adobe. They fucking suck anyways. Just switch to some better open source alternative instead. And this is the best part. Gaming. Because Windows is full of bloat and there's so much processing power just running the operating system itself, Linux can actually get higher FPS in gaming. Do you wanna know how much better? It outperforms Windows 11 on some famous games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and other more titles. Although yes, some games does not work or other games still runs better on Windows, but you need to remember, these games are not running natively, yet they're still running better. And also, NVIDIA drivers are still weird on Linux, but if you have an AMD card, it's a different story. And by now, you probably already know about Valve's Steam Deck and their upcoming Steam machine. Those uses Steam OS, which is based on Linux. So yeah, gaming on Linux isn't the nightmare people make it out to be anymore. Proton, which is Valve's compatibility layer built on top of Wine, has made thousands of Windows games playable on Linux. You literally just click on Steam and it works. No tweaking, no command line stuff, and all that bullshit. It just runs, most of the time. And in Windows, the telemetry pisses me off too. Microsoft is constantly collecting data about what you're doing, what you're clicking, and how you're using your computer. Sure, you can turn some of it off, but not all of it. And even when you do, updates sometimes turn that shit back on without telling you. With Linux, you can actually own your computer. No forced updates.
I hate them! I hate these stupid updates!
No ads in the start menu. No corporation shoving shit down your throat. Look, I'm not saying Linux is perfect for everyone, but if you need a super specific Windows-only professional software, then you're probably stuck. But for most people who just browse, watch videos, edit some photos, and play games, Linux does it all. And installing it is dead simple, as easy as how it is installing Windows. And if you're paranoid, you could just dual boot. Keep Windows around and whatever you think you'll need it for. So if you're tired of using Windows 11, just try it. Worst case scenario, you go back to Windows. Best case, you realize something you've been missing out on. Anyways, that's all. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.